At 2:47 a.m., her phone lit up the bedroom like a match over dry grass. One message was all it took. "Can't wait for tomorrow. Same hotel?" The number was not saved. The intention was clear. "I'm Ethan Cole, a lawyer by trade. Surprise is useful in a courtroom. At home, it's gasoline on a fire." I didn't wake Sarah. I didn't grab the phone. I refused to make a spectacle. But in that silent moment, a spark was lit. The first flicker in a dark tunnel I hadn't expected. Morning turned the drama into methodical work. I laid out our joint statements, clean, dated, legible. Restaurant charges matched my late sessions on the calendar with suspicious neatness. Confirmations for downtown hotel bookings sat in the family inbox we both ignored until tax season. Reservations for girls' nights out ended a block from a five-star hotel. This wasn't a scandal, it was a pattern. I called a colleague who measures words in inches, not miles. We discussed preserving a financial trail, not starting a fire. Then I hired a licensed private investigator for public surveillance. The lobbies, the valet receipts, the comings and goings that anyone can see. No eavesdropping, no tricks. The courts don't reward noise. They reward consistency. 3 days later, the pile of documents took shape. A name appeared where it shouldn't be. Jason Miller, her partner's younger brother. My biggest fan at backyard barbecues. The floor felt cold under my bare feet. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. I put a yellow folder in the center of my desk and began the case. I froze the joint credit cards, stopped the auto payments, transferred the mortgage and property tax to an operating account in my name, so the lights would stay on no matter how the week behaved. This wasn't revenge, it was oxygen. I walked into the managing partner's office. "I have a conflict of interest until further notice. Personal. I want an ethical screen. No cases touching the Miller family." He nodded once. The paperwork was on my desk by noon. I felt like I had replaced a frayed rope before a climb. By Friday evening, the outline was a picture. I had heard the story some men tell themselves, fury as a plan, spectacle as closure. I had prosecuted those cases. They confuse noise with strength. Noise burns out quickly and leaves no warmth behind. I wanted something else. Space to breathe. Space to decide. Evidence. I asked the bank to flag any unusual activity. No accusations, just precautions. I scheduled a consultation with a family lawyer whose advice came without hesitation, and I wrote Sarah 12 simple words. "We need a serious conversation Friday evening. 2 representatives, please." No emotion, no accusations, just facts and boundaries. Outside, the street was empty. The porch light cut warm squares into the dark. Inside, the sounds of a house doing its quiet work. The house exhaled. The message that broke the spell didn't burn the house down. It spoke the truth out loud. And the truth, handled correctly, is more than enough. Memory. I remember our beginnings. Her laughter like a wildfire in the courtrooms. My calm like an anchor. A future painted with dreams. Smiles that hid secrets. Will the truth set me free? Or will it destroy us? On Friday morning, I put the yellow folder down and ran the same checklist I give clients when a marriage cracks. Documents, money, boundaries. Documents first. Marriage certificate, deed, insurance.
3 years of tax returns, bank statements and retirement accounts, a clean printout of unusual expenses, the restaurants and rooms that matched gaps in the calendar a little too neatly. The courts don't absorb stories. The courts read the paper. Money next. I wasn't hiding assets. I wasn't playing a shell game. That's illegal and beneath me. I was stabilizing. I froze the joint cards. I stopped the auto payments. I transferred the mortgage, property tax, and utilities to a single operating account, so the roof stayed paid for while everything else was sorted. I asked the bank to flag strange joint activity in the future. Not a fight, friction, enough to keep the house from bleeding out. Boundaries last. I called Sarah at noon. 6 o'clock, I said. A neutral room. I'll have a lawyer and a written summary. Bring someone you trust. No heat, no theatrics, just terms. She sighed, then, okay. I drove to my sister Megan's place on the way. She brewed tea and listened without flinching. What's the goal? She asked. To come out clean, I said, without self-betrayal, without a scene for the kids, a plan I can respect tomorrow. She nodded. Talk quietly. People who yell sound unsure. At 6, the small conference room felt right. A plain table, a warm lamp, a pitcher of water. My lawyer, Ms. Rose, laid out 3 neat stacks, asset summary, unusual expenses, and a 60-day transitional budget. We agreed to keep everything on the record, no ambush, just adults. Sarah arrived on time with a friend, a family counselor. No smeared mascara, no slamming doors, everyone sat. I began. I'm not asking why. Explanation is your right. Boundaries are mine. Here are transactions that left our joint account without my consent. This is a map of the days that align. This is a temporary budget. You move into a short-term rental tonight. I will cover the essentials for 60 days so you can get on your feet. After that, we follow the law and the facts of contribution. She listened with her hands folded, the way you sit on the edge of a bed so you don't wake someone up. Ms. Rose spoke next, measured and clean. We're not here to punish. We're here to stop the bleeding and create a path to resolution. Mediation, then final orders. Sarah found her voice. I accept the move. I accept the budget. The rest I will work out in mediation. Her eyes didn't waver. They accepted the gravity. That was enough. I slid a 1-page protocol across. 3 rules to prevent a breakdown. No public scenes. Don't involve the elders or the children. Keep work separate. Don't triangulate through the firm. I requested an ethical screen. No intersection with cases touching your associate's family. Not an attack, a boundary. For the first time, she looked at me directly. Thank you for doing this quietly. It's the only way I know how to. I left the conference room neither a winner nor a loser, just a grown man who had drawn a line and stayed behind it. At home, I slid the yellow folder onto the kitchen table and wrote 4 words on a fresh sheet. Intentions, not people. The law translates that simply. Actions outweigh explanations. Work first. I sent a short memo to the managing partner. Ethical screen is active. No cases will cross the Miller's orbit. I will recuse from anything that even shadows a conflict. He replied with a single sentence and a PDF confirmation. The firm would do its job. I could do mine without the white noise. Money next, in the boring ways that save lives. I finalized the 60-day transitional budget we signed, then separated the accounts into 2 stacks, the essentials that keep a roof honest and everything else. The essentials went on auto-pay from the operating account, the rest waited. I opened a P.O. box for legal mail, so nothing sensitive would wander down a shared hallway. I activated credit monitoring, with alerts strong enough to wake me if someone tried to borrow my name. Nothing heroic, all adults. Communication, without a scene. I wrote Sarah, Saturday, 10 a.m., a mediator is present, 1 hour, strictly logistics, timelines, keys, utilities, health insurance dates. Emotional issues would be handled in counseling, not through email. She replied in less than a minute. Agreed. No excuses, no heat, pure oxygen. One piece was left, one that touched my home without living in it. Among the receipts in our folder were expenses that had been submitted as business while paying for private evenings. I don't hunt people, I don't carry torches, but companies run on policies for a reason. I drafted a short report to corporate ethics, dates, locations, dollar amounts, and copies of public confirmations. One paragraph of context: I am reporting as a private citizen as the transactions touched my household's shared funds, and a request for no further contact unless required. I hit send and closed the tab. Their process, not my crusade. My duty ended at the boundary of my front door. As if on cue, the phone rang. Megan. She asked, "Are you steady?" I said, "Steady." She replied, "Good." Quiet wins. I heard her set a mug on the counter, a little clang that meant someone you trust was still in your corner. Saturday arrived clean. Before I left, I walked the house, the way you walk a fence line after a storm. Little things mattered. A signed envelope for Sarah with 2 spare keys, a clear list of what she would take first, documents, medications, a few mementos, a note on the fridge with the landlord's number if a light flickered. People behave better when the next hour isn't a guess. The mediation stayed on the rails. 1 table, 2 pens, no speeches. We locked down dates that keep arguments from growing legs, when she would move the rest of her clothes, when the utilities would be split, which insurer would cover which month, and when we would return to settle the car. Each item went into a box labeled "Done" or "To Mediation." On the sidewalk after, Sarah stopped. She said, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I do expect consequences." I nodded once. We both get them. Mine are simpler. I live by the rules I asked for. You'll learn to live without the thing that broke them. No anger, just weather. The mediator's office didn't sell drama. No portraits, no plaques, just a large wooden table, warm light, and chairs that said, "Sit up straight." We arrived on time. I carried the yellow folder. Sarah carried a neat stack of notes from her counselor. Mr. Harvey, the mediator, opened with a sentence that suited the room. "We don't pick heroes. We build exits that don't collapse." I slid a 1-page plan across the table, 4 pillars that hold a house up when everything else is shaking: shelter, money, communication, boundaries. Shelter. "The short-term rental is ready," I said. "The keys are in this envelope. 3 months are covered, so neither of us is negotiating from a place of panic. I will keep the lights on the house until final orders: mortgage, property tax, insurance, so we don't fight over flickering bulbs. No victory lap, just structure." Money. I turned the next page. "These are the expenses that left our joint account without my consent. I am not asking you to explain them. I am asking you to stop. Here is a 60-day transitional budget. I carry the essentials while you get back on your feet. After that, we follow the law and what each of us actually contributed." Mr. Harvey nodded once. Understood. Measurable. Adult. Communication. I said 1 channel for business. Tapping the header, A shared email thread with the mediator copied. No midnight monologues, no ambush texts. Emotional issues live with your counselor. Logistics live here. Phone calls by appointment. It wasn't cold. It was how you keep words from becoming weapons. Boundaries. I pushed the last page across. 3 rules. No public scenes. Children and elders are out of bounds. Work stays separate, no triangulating through the firm. I requested an ethical screen, I added. None of my cases will share a hallway with anything touching the Miller family. Not an attack, containment. For the first time, Sarah met my eyes without flinching. "Thank you for doing this quietly." I replied, "It's the only way I know how." We moved through the pieces, one by one, like lifting a dresser with 2 people who want to keep their fingers. Dates went into boxes, utilities into columns, car usage into a simple rotation with a rider for insurance confirmation. When an item resisted, Mr. Harvey wrote, "To mediation," and slid it into a separate stack. Not a crisis, just a later door. Midway through, my phone buzzed face down on the table. I ignored it. We finished the points, signed the protocol. Only then did I check the screen. An email from corporate ethics, received, under review, a confidential process. I didn't announce it, didn't smile, put the phone away. If accountability showed up, it would knock on its own door. I wasn't a process server. I was a homeowner. Sarah spoke as the pens were capped. "I can't ask for forgiveness," she said, "but I can stop adding weight to the wrong side of the scale." Her voice didn't tremble. It didn't make excuses either. That mattered. "Good," I said. "Then let's protect the quiet." I pointed to the last line on the page. "The holidays stay small. No speeches about perfect families. The adults get an honest update when they're ready. The children don't learn anything unnecessary." Mr. Harvey circled the line and wrote, "Both agree. Memory." I remember our wedding, dancing to "At Last" by Etta James, how she whispered, "Forever." How I believed her. Monday started with a line and a stamp. I was at the courthouse 15 minutes before the window opened. The clerk slid the papers under the glass, checked the dates, checked the signatures, pressed the stamp down. No fanfare, no verdict, just ink that said, "This chapter is closing by rule, not by fury." Outside, the air had that clean winter honesty that makes your breath feel like a contract. I wrote Sarah, "Filed as agreed. Next dates on the mediation calendar." She replied almost instantly, "Received. Thank you for keeping this clean." Words without warmth can still carry respect. That's enough to end a story like adults. Back at the office, the managing partner sent a 1-sentence confirmation. The ethical screen was active. My cases would not share a hallway with anything touching the Miller orbit. I replied with 2 words, "Thank you," and felt the floor under my name settle. A workday is supposed to smell like work, not a kitchen fire. By noon, an email from corporate ethics was waiting in my inbox. Report recognized, review initiated. Further correspondence will be confidential. I didn't forward it to Megan. I didn't print it for the folder. I let it sit where it belonged, on their path, not mine. The accountability that needs me will call. The accountability that doesn't will run on its own. The rest of the day was the kind that builds a life after the spectacle. I set the insurance transfer dates on the shared thread, copied the mediator, closed the tab. I called the landlord of Sarah's rental to confirm the utilities would switch over on the 1st. I signed a box of her mementos, photos, a small vase from Mendocino, the scarf she buys every October and somehow loses by February. I wrote "yours" on the tape with a black marker and set it by the door. Small marks are how adults prevent big arguments. The evening brought the holiday week into focus. I hung the porch lights the way I do every year. Top rail first, then the pillars, then the outlet you have to double tap to get the click. The lines lay straight this time. Maybe they always did, and I was too busy rehearsing speeches to notice. Maybe the house was ready to be a home again. Sarah drove by to get the first haul. No theatrics, no post-mortem. She picked up the box labeled yours and paused. "I'm sticking to the plan," she said. "I know I broke it." I nodded. "Then hold on to the receipts and the boundaries. They fix more than apologies." She almost smiled, learning. She took the box and left the way decent people leave, quietly. The door shut, the keys where we agreed to leave them. Megan called after dinner. "Is it done?" she asked. "The loud part is," I said. "The rest is calendars." "Good. Quiet is the sound of things working." We didn't need more than that. Family is allowed to be concise when it's about respect. Christmas Eve arrived dressed like itself. Small, warm, undramatic. I made tea, wiped the counter, checked the porch light, checked the lock. The phone buzzed with the neighborhood thread. Someone's inflatable reindeer had migrated 2 lawns over. I replied with a thumbs up and kept my life out of the comments. Privacy isn't secrecy, it's a kind of love. People keep asking me, quietly then out loud, where the revenge lives in a story that refuses blood and thunder. They want the ruined holiday, the destroyed career, the speech in a crowded room. Here's what I learned. Revenge is a sparkler, justice is plumbing. The sparkler hisses and fades. The plumbing does the same quiet thing day after day, and the house stays livable. I didn't need a bonfire. I needed the water to run, the bills to get paid, and my name to mean what it meant when I signed it. On Christmas night, I opened the kitchen window 3 inches and let the cold in. Somewhere out there beyond the porches and the fences, I could hear it again, the faint, steady noise that hides inside the walls when you're not listening. Not the ocean, not the rain, just water through the pipes, doing the job. I'm not a hero for choosing order over spectacle. I'm a man who refused to spend a future paying for 15 minutes of noise. I protected the roof. I protected the name. The story didn't end with applause. It ended with a roof that stayed honest, a calendar that kept promises, and a silence that didn't feel empty. That's enough.